Hello, and happy Library Lovers Month and Black History Month. Thank you for celebrating with us today. My name is Lisette, and I am the president of the Long Beach Library Foundation Board of Directors. There's so much to love about our libraries, including the many resources made possible via your donations to our foundation, from online learning and tutoring to job search assistance and much more. And yes, this is all available to you with your library card. We're especially grateful to the Farmers and Merchants Bank for sponsoring today's event and generously supporting our Fund for Race, Equity, and Justice resources at the library. We started this fund last summer to promote the many voices, histories, and narratives of African Americans and people of color. We have helped the library purchase 400 more audio and ebooks of very popular titles, and we hope that with your support, we can continue to expand this collection. Now it is my honor to introduce Ms. Glenda Williams, the Director of Library Services. Ms. Williams has been at the helm of the Long Beach Library since 2009, and she has overseen the opening of two incredible new libraries, the Michelle Obama Neighborhood Library in 2016 and the Billie Jean King Main Library in 2019. Also under her leadership, the library won the National Medal for Museum and Library Services. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lisette. Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. I am so happy to celebrate virtually with you today and share some of the great things the Long Beach Public Library has been doing. And although our doors are closed for now, there are many educational and entertaining resources available. You can use our LBPL to go, our contactless pickup service, to safely check out books and videos in the library's collection. And like Lisette said earlier, you can access live online homework help and job search assistance with your library card using BrainFuse. The monthly Book Bites podcast features discussions and reviews of popular young adult titles. And for an interesting take on Long Beach history, check out our Don't Know Beach About History podcast. We have more than 3,000 e-magazines in 15 different languages. It's just like flipping through them while at the grocery store. And we have a huge collection of ebooks and e-audiobooks. Our Makerspace studio offers creative virtual workshops that you can enjoy, like the So It Goes Sewing Lab. And you can discover all of this and more at longbeach.gov/library. Our library staff are also available Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. to answer your questions and provide assistance at 562-570-7500. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce the Library Foundation Honorary Director, Senator Lena Gonzalez. Senator Gonzalez represents nearly 1 million residents in the 33rd District of Los Angeles County, which includes Long Beach and several other LA cities. She was recently named the Majority Whip in the California State Senate, and prior to being elected to the Senate, Ms. Gonzalez served on the Long Beach City Council from 2014 to 2019, and I had the pleasure to work with her as Chief of Staff for Council District 1 before she became a councilwoman. And thank you so much, Senator Gonzalez, for joining our celebration.
Thank you so much, Director Williams. It's been such a pleasure knowing you over the last decade or so, and you've done an incredible job in ensuring that our libraries are safe and accessible and equitable, and I can't wait to return once everything is said and done. I'm really honored and excited to be here, a part of this celebration of Library Lovers Month and Black History Month with a very inspiring local Long Beach author, Elise Bryant. I get the honor of introducing her as well, and our very special guest, as mentioned, Elise Bryant, a local author, and here she is. Excited to have you, and welcome, Elise.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you to the Long Beach Public Library Foundation for inviting me, and then also Senator Gonzalez. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Likewise, super excited to talk to you. You're from Long Beach, and I get to introduce you and tell everybody listening and all the audience members a little bit more about you. So Elise, you were born and raised in Southern California. You earned a BA in Africana Studies from Cal State Long Beach, go Beach, and an MA in Special Education from Loyola Marymount University, my two alma maters as well, go Lions.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Oh, I love that.
So this is why I really have an affinity for you. You're fantastic. But for many years, Elise had the joy of working as a special education teacher in South Los Angeles, and she is a national board certified teacher. Pretty amazing. Elise now lives with her husband and two daughters in Long Beach. Her debut young adult novel, Happily Ever Afters, was published nationally by HarperCollins this past January. There it is, beautiful cover. And it's been featured. Yeah, it's been featured in articles about the most anticipated books of 2021 by BuzzFeed, Publishers Weekly, Refinery 29, and The Root. And I've been taking a look at your book online, and it has phenomenal ratings. So you should be so proud.
Thank you.
Welcome,
so
Elise.
much.
We're excited to get to know you and your book. Please go ahead and say a few words.
Hi. So yes, I live in Long Beach. I love Long Beach so much, and that's why it's so exciting to be here tonight. Like you said, I used to be a teacher, and I started writing because I wanted to create more stories for my students with kids that look like them. And so yeah, that's why I'm just so excited to be here talking with you.
Well, thank you. We're excited to have you, and of course, you're from Long Beach. Again, we're always proud of our Long Beach residents. Now we're going to get into some discussion questions. And the first one actually talks about that. Happily Ever Afters shows the importance of Black children and children of color really seeing themselves in the center of these stories. You talk about Tessa, a 16-year-old girl who doesn't see herself in many books, but is able to write about that. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and why you're inspired to write about this?
Yeah. So, I think when you rarely see yourself in stories, you start to believe that maybe you don't deserve to be there, or you only deserve these very limited roles as a sidekick or a villain often. And so I wanted to write this story about a Black girl, falling in love and learning how to take up space, because that was the kind of story I searched for as a kid. I just wanted to see girls that look like me at the center of stories. I want to see Black kids and kids of color solving mysteries and falling in love and ruling kingdoms in fantasy novels. I want to see all these different experiences because I think it's important to celebrate our joy, our Black joy, and not just showcase our trauma, because I think it's important to show kids what is possible and all that they're deserving of. And books really have the power to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Absolutely. This is your floor.
Oh, okay. I was just going to add. So yeah, I was a teacher for so many years. I was a teacher for almost 9 years, and I taught special education, reading and English classes. And so many students would come into my class, and the first thing they would say is, I hate reading. And that would kill me because I love reading so much. I love books. And so what I really began to find over the years is that it wasn't that they hated reading. They just hated reading, boring books or books that, didn't reflect them in their lives. And so, through finding all these different books for my students that they would actually enjoy reading, I saw the power that narratives that reflect them had to really change their entire outlook on books, and open up so many doors for them, because when you're able to read, so much more is possible in your life.
And that's amazing. I mean, we're having discussions in Sacramento about ethnic studies and what that means. So to your point, absolutely. It's good to see, as a teacher, this, that the Black experience is lifted up in a way that's more positive, that we see the successes versus the challenges. And so that's what your book embodies. And it's really incredible to see that, especially a young Black girl being able to be the star of the show, if you will. So that's wonderful. And your book features many Long Beach landmarks and businesses. Of course, you now live in Long Beach, but what made you pick Long Beach as the setting? You could have picked anywhere else in this world. So why Long Beach?
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't grow up in Long Beach, but I've lived here for the past 15 years, and it is just my favorite place in the whole world. And so when I started, um, outlining this novel, trying to decide where it was going to be, it just felt so natural to have it in Long Beach. Um, I love the city, and I hope that that comes across in the book. I love the food and the neighborhoods and the beach and all the different wonderful things about our city. But what I love the most is the beautiful diversity in all of our communities. I knew I wanted to have a diverse cast of characters in Happily Ever Afters, and it just felt so natural to have it set in Long Beach because that's authentic to our city. And there's just so many different types of people here. And I was able to show that in Happily Ever Afters.
That's really awesome. And as we mentioned before, people from Long Beach love Long Beach so much.
Yes.
We're really proud of Long Beach. So even more proud again to have an author who not only is now from Long Beach, but has reflected that in the book. And so it's really cool to be able to see that inside your book, and people even more reason to pick it up locally. And as we celebrate, of course, this is Library Lovers Month. I'd like to know what role libraries have played in your life. How important were they when you were growing up, or for your children too? You've got 2 little girls. So how does that work into your life?
Yeah, so I grew up in Cerritos, and we had a big, beautiful library there, and it was really like the center of the whole community. I spent so much time there, so many days per week there. Meeting my friends and doing homework, but also and then also picking up my books for the week. My mom would take me, and I would get a big old stack and exchange it every single week. And I get to see my kids do that now. Our local library is the Dana Library, and before all of this, we would go every week and get our books. And now my daughter has her Kindle. My 8-year-old has a Kindle, so she gets her books from the ebooks from the library now on there. It helps for our budget too, because I read like 3 books a week, and my daughter reads like 4 books a week, and so it's nice to be able to save a little money and get the books from the library.
Yes, our libraries are everything. And especially, I remember Cerritos has a beautiful library, but now in Long Beach, we've absolutely, through Director Williams, have been really pushing to have more, of course, main library, which is now the Billie Jean King Library, and so many libraries that your book will now exist in. So it's just pretty phenomenal, right? And now you can pass that down on to your kids.
Yes.
And in that same space of, sort of equity and students now needing things more than ever from their libraries, and they can do so electronically. What do you think is needed now more than ever for students in their libraries?
So like you said, I have 2 little kids, so I know how hard this time has been. They miss their friends, they miss their routine, and I think the library just offers so much of what we need. Not only just to give so many stories, as an escape right now, especially when we need it, but also just to tie us again to our community of Long Beach. All of the programs that were listed before, we're so fortunate to have those in Long Beach, and I think they really bring us together.
Most definitely. And I think now more than ever, libraries are so important, as you mentioned. And it creates a really safe space for a lot of families. And so even more reason to invest and continue supporting the Public Library Foundation. That's great. So yeah, absolutely. And
what's your favorite library of all the ones in Long Beach?
Yeah, that's a good question. I love Billie Jean King. That's because that's the one where when I was on the city council, really loved it. And I love just the architecture. It's just beautiful. But now the one closest to my house is El Dorado Library. It's a small library, but it just fills you with so much joy, reminding you of when you were a kid or school. It's just, and being a Cal State Long Beach student, having to go there till the week, till late at night. And I'm sure you remember that. And how does how was your Cal State Long Beach experience? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I love the college. I met my husband there. We, we've been married almost 10 years now. We met in an English class at Cal State Long Beach. So many of my closest friends I met there. And I was an Africana Studies major, and so I feel like I really I got the education at Cal State Long Beach that I wish I had gotten growing up. In elementary school, high school. I got to learn about Black history and Black culture in a way that I wasn't able to before. So I love that school. My parents live right down the street from it, so I still get to see it all the time.
Great. Well, go Beach. We're again excited that you're also a Cal State Long Beach alum. And then you're, giving back to the community in essence by these beautiful stories. So that's just wonderful. Now we actually have, this is the fun part of the session here, is because we received questions by local high school students. And so I'm going to read their questions and where they're from, which school they're from. The first one, there's, I think, 4 questions. And so you get to pick the best question. You'll answer the question and then pick the best question. And that person gets to win an autographed book of your wonderful book. So the very first question is from Zelha Martinez, an 11th grader at Long Beach Poly High School. She asks, when did you first realize you wanted to be a writer?
Okay. I started writing at a very young age, probably like 7 or 8 or so. And what it really came from was I always loved those fluffy, swoony, like pink paperback novels. I would get them from the library every week. But it was so hard to find those books with girls that look like me in them. And so I started writing around that age. I started writing fairy tales with, Black girls as the main character. And then I started writing boy band fan fiction in middle school with girls that looked like me in them. And then eventually I started writing romance in high school. I started writing to create the stories that I wanted to read.
That's awesome. That's so great. And I'll have to think about this fan club. What did you mention? The boy band fan club?
Fan fiction. Yeah.
Oh, fan fiction. That seems really interesting. Exciting. Yeah.
So you just write it was like the boys and the boy bands that I liked. I'm dating myself here. And then they would, all of a sudden meet me and fall in love with me. And that was what I wrote.
Yeah, I know a couple of the boy bands too, and they go way back. So but they're all still really cool. That is great. The next question, number 2, is from Catherine Blas, a freshman at Long Beach City College. She asks, what author inspired you to become an author yourself?
Okay. I think there are a couple answers here. So Sarah Dessen, she was my very favorite author growing up. She writes young adult romances, and that's what I really read when I was growing up, and that's how I learned, how to tell a story and all the different conventions of a novel. So definitely her. And then as I got older, as I was picking books for my classroom for my students, I started reading Nicola Yoon, who wrote the books Everything, Everything, and The Sun Is Also a Star. They're movies too. And I think her books really showed me what was possible, that there might be space for me in the publishing world as it is right now. And so she has definitely inspired me.
That's great. It's always good to know where you originated from, right? Where it all started and where it all began for you. So that's really wonderful. The third question is from Daisy Gomez, a freshman at Long Beach City College as well, at a lot of community college students. Great.
Oh, I love that.
Yes, it's wonderful. She asks, any words of advice to teens who are going through really hard times right now?
And I get it, because I think we all are. I'm going through a hard time. My kids are going through a hard time right now. I think it's important to know that there will be an end to where we are. It won't be forever. And then I also think it's important to, be patient with yourself and take care of yourself throughout this time too. Don't expect yourself to have the same productivity maybe that you had before, or, get all the same things done that you did before. Just take each day as it comes, and just do the best you can, because that's all we can expect from anyone right now.
That is some sage advice. And read Happily Ever Afters, because that will calm you down and kind of take you into a different space, right? So I think that's great advice from you.
Bring some joy right now. We need joy.
That's absolutely right. That's right. And the last question is actually from Shanti Flores Marsochi, an 8th grader at Intellectual Virtues Academy. Is the main character based on someone you know or yourself?
She's based a lot on me. She isn't exactly me, but there is a lot of me in the character of Tessa. Like I talked about earlier, I started writing just like Tessa started writing because I wanted to see myself in stories. So that I took a lot from my own life. Also, the school that she went to, the arts high school, that's very much based on the school I went to, which is Orange County High School of the Arts in Santa Ana. So I took a lot of that from my own experience. And then also just all of her anxiety and her imposter syndrome. That was a lot from my own experience when I was writing growing up. Like I said, I went to an arts high school, and when I was there, I was totally paralyzed and frozen, thinking that what I was creating, the art that I was making, was not as important or as serious as what my peers were creating. I kind of self-rejected myself because I didn't want anyone else to reject me. So definitely the journey that she goes through in the book is something I've been through. It took me a lot longer. I didn't have like a quick plan, a happily ever after plan to fix everything. It took me, until I was in my 30s to realize that I deserved to write and I deserved to take up space like Tessa does at the end of the book.
That's awesome, especially because it has such a personal connection to you. Obviously, this is essentially your story as well. And so I think that's really great for the audience to know and find out that it's really close to your heart in that sense. We actually have a couple more from these incredible young women. So the next one is actually from Adrina Alonso, a 5th grader. Awesome. At Horace Mann Elementary School. Are you friends with the other authors? Do they help you become a better writer? How does that work out?
Yeah, because of the pandemic, I was very worried that, because I'm debuting during this time, I was very worried I wouldn't be able to meet any other authors because we can't have festivals, we can't have events. But I've been so just overwhelmed with gratitude at how many authors have reached out to me, and so many of them are like my favorite authors, like books that they wrote books that I love so much, Becky Albertalli and Brandy Colbert and so many other amazing authors. And so, they helped me just to navigate this world. And then also reading so many other YA books that are coming out right now, especially those by other Black women, like Legend Born by Tracy Dion or The Black Kids by Christina Hammonds Reed. That really helps me to improve my craft. And I just learned so much from them. I am grateful to be publishing in the same time as them.
That's awesome. So there's really kind of this cool sisterhood, if you will, of women that help support each other, which I think is also awesome, in the writing process.
Yes.
And on that note, I do have a question about the writing process, actually.
Okay.
So this one's from Rebecca. A lot of young women just want to hear a lot from you. So this is great.
No.
You're very popular.
No.
So from Rebecca, a freshman at Long Beach City College as well. How was the writing process? Did it energize you or exhaust you at a point where you had to take a few breaks?
It was a joy. It really was a joy to write this book. I was teaching at the time. I was a high school special education teacher. I have 2 little kids. I was very exhausted all the time. But being able to come home and write a chapter after they went to sleep, or, when they were taking naps on the weekends, it was my me time. And so, it definitely, it energized me. I finished it in about 3.5 months, the first draft, because it was just, it was so fun to return to every day.
That's great. I know, I always think about that too. There's some people that have like writing retreats and they have like a whole process. And I've always wondered what that process is like. And so as mentioned, it's, you know, a lot of us are curious on how that worked out for you. So that's good to know.
You learn how to not be precious about it. You know, when you have, I mean, you know, you're a mom too. Like, you know, you learn not to be precious. You get that 30 minutes, you use that 30 minutes. And that's what I had to do to write this.
Even more so as a mom for you. Exactly. You've got to be time efficient and kind of work through that for your family and yourself and everything else. So that's a good point for sure. The next question is from Lucia, a 10th grader at Animo Jackie Robinson Charter School.
Oh, that's where my husband teaches.
Oh, he does? Okay, great.
Yes.
See? Well, she has a question for you.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's awesome. She says, what would you say is the meaning behind your book overall?
I think the overall message that I want readers to walk away with is that first, that you deserve to take up space. You know, no one is more deserving than anyone else. If you have a story you want to tell, if you have something that you think is important, you deserve to have others listen to you. And then I also want readers to know that all art has value. A lot of times in our society, we put down art that may be centered around girls or women as not as important. And especially with, you know, the romance genre, it's very much filled with women that are writing romance right now. And so I just want readers to know that those stories, that those voices are just as important and just as necessary for our world.
That's so great. And again, taking on the issue and the lived experiences of young Black writers and authors in this book, I think is very, very important. And so really glad that you're leveling that discussion. And so the last question we have from the audience is actually from Candace, who's a huge fan, she says, of YA young adult novels. She asks, as someone with a brother who has Down syndrome, I really appreciated how you, Elise, wrote about Tessa's relationship with Miles. Do you have personal experiences that you drew from?
Yes, I do. So the character of Miles, he's very much based on my older brother, who is just my favorite person in the world, one of my best friends. And you know, when I was growing up, a lot of times when you'd have stories with two siblings, one has a disability, one does not. Often the character, the sibling with the disability, was used as like a plot device for like the development of the other sibling, instead of being given a chance to be a full character on their own. And so that's really what I wanted to do in this story, was to show that, you know, his disability does impact their life. You know, they have their issues because of that. They have, you know, their arguments, their disagreements, but they also dance to boy band music together and make fun of each other and have a very joyful, fun sibling relationship. And ultimately his disability is not at the center of their relationship, it's their love for each other. So I hope I was successful in showing that in the book.
That is phenomenal. So you've really taken an opportunity in this book to really discuss deeply, you know, and more mindfully, again, about lived experiences from somebody who may have a different ability. But like you mentioned, I think that's pretty deep, that, you know, you're wanting that person to be a full character, not the disability as the main issue or the main area that, you know, doesn't define that person, right? I mean, it's just, there's so much more. So that's really, really important, really deep work that you're doing there.
Thank you.
And this question is just from me. I'm just curious. Again, we talked about equity a lot. And of course, this is Black History Month, but we want to make sure that your book lives beyond February, right? This is your story that should kind of carry on. What do you see for your next sort of steps in books? And is it going to have these same sort of equity discussions and leveling up, of course, again, the Black lived experiences, and just really honing in on people of color and equity and disability. There's so many things that your book really represents. What do you see for your next steps?
So I mean, I want to keep writing books about Black girls falling in love and showing all different parts of the Black experience, my own experience through the books that I write. My next book is coming out in January 2022. It is a companion novel to Happily Ever Afters. It's called One True Loves. And it takes one of the side characters, Lenore, who's another Black girl in the story, and it's her love story. So I'm excited to share that with readers. And yeah, I hope I get to keep writing as many love stories as they'll let me write.
Please bring it on. We're just so excited that you'll continue this really incredible work. And it's, again, from the heart. It speaks volumes to who you are, but also to, of course, touching on the Long Beach community. Like you mentioned, it just really replicates the diversity in our community. And we're just really excited that you're here to share all that with us. Now, with that, of course, taking me out of that, because I would love to win your book, but I'm going to go and buy your book and support you, of course. But we've got a question that was from Zelha on when you wanted to become a writer. Catherine, what inspired you to become an author? Daisy, any words of advice for teens? Shanti, that had mentioned main character based on yourself. A question from Adrina about authors that have helped you become a better writer. Lucia from Animo Jackie, your husband's school, the meaning behind your book. Rebecca asked about writing process, and Candice asked about the relationship Tessa had with Miles. So out of all those questions, which do you think was the best question?
I think I'm going to pick the last one, Candice, because I really love being able to talk about that. So thank you.
Candice, congratulations. That was a really good question. And I think your answer was just beautiful, because it, again, represents so much of who you are and what this book reflects. So Candice, congratulations. She gets to win a Happily Ever Afters signed book from our amazing local author. Well, that concludes our portion, Elise. Again, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us today. We're really grateful to the Long Beach Public Library Foundation, Lisette Flores, the board president, and of course, director Glenda Williams, another incredible Black woman that has done wonderful work for us in Long Beach for our library system. They have made this event possible and happen with, such an inspiring local artist, but they've also continued to provide educational resources for our community that elevate learning and discussion on the topics of most importance to many people: equity, justice, anti-racism, and highlighting women of color. Elise, go ahead if you'd like to say a few words, and then we'll pass it on to board president Lisette Flores.
Okay, I just want to say thank you so much again for having me here tonight. I love, or I guess it's not nighttime yet, but it's getting close. I love being able to celebrate our city and celebrate our libraries. If I didn't say it, I don't know if I said it earlier, but I love the Dana Library. That's our local library. We used to go to the story times with Mr. Carl there with my little one. And I love the Michelle Obama Library with a garden out front. I just love all that our city has to offer. And I thank all of you for the work you've done to make that possible. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gonzalez and Elise Bryant. Thank you to Farmers and Merchants Bank for making this event possible. And thank you to everybody for celebrating with us today. A web address will pop up soon that you can visit to show your support for our Fund for Race, Equity, and Justice resources at the library. Even a donation of $5 makes a big difference and helps us promote equity in Long Beach. And finally, one final shout out for Kimberly Caballero of the Long Beach Public Library Foundation for single-handedly pulling together this celebration of Long Beach authors and libraries. We appreciate you, Kimberly. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you at the library when it's safe for all of us to return and to be together again. Happy reading.